Hey friends, Dennis here, and this is my data review of our recent Hellfire target tasked by Henny. It was the Kepler-452B target. Um, I really thoroughly enjoyed working this session. I'm not sure how accurate my data is on this one because there's just a ton of unverifiable stuff. I had a bunch of life form type of data, like intelligent humanoid type of life. Fascinating story that I'm not going to go into too great of detail here. I'll probably put another video together looking at that, but I'm going to give a brief overview, from the lens of what impact would this atmosphere have on humanity? I know Henny was curious about that. Like if we were to go to this location, maybe there is life there. If there is life on this planet, then I will definitely do a more detailed review, as time progresses with the feedback here. But I'll go through my sessions here and I'll let you decide what you think of my data. But it was a lot of fun. So I did two sessions with this one. And right away, right up at the beginning, I got movement, life, and energetics, and just a lot of clouds and smoke, just like this expansive, slow moving. It was gray and dusty, and I felt that it would burn your eyes and coughing and just burning and like mucus. And I had an AOL of radon, and then there's just a brief sketch there I had just of this dust cloud that was rumbling, flashing, glowing, moving, and rolling, was growling, and there were flashes of light inside. I got this sense of life that was tense and aware, and just this jolting, jarring shock to their system. They were agitated from it. Scrolling down again, more with this life, and they were just bursting with all of this energetics. And I had this craft, this weird shaped craft in the atmosphere. It was pressurized. There was life inside it. They were excited. There was joy. Again, radon. I had this AOL. It was fast moving. Um, and it was the way this ship was crafted. There were just these different angles on it. They were beveled. I thought that was a unique piece, and it had something to do with the movement of energetics around the craft. So again, maybe there's a civilization up there. Maybe this is, projecting to a point in time when our civilization goes there, but then that puts me off target because the tasking was at time of target. So who knows? But then, this ship was opening up, had a ramp that came down, and life forms came out, reminded me of the movie E.T. And then just these precious stones or this object there that was important. And this object was like a gift giver. It gave knowledge to the life forms that were surrounding it. Into the minds of many, it was a divine spark. It was a method. And it created tiny lights in the minds of the others that it then spread and shared. But it wasn't by force. It was like illuminating the minds with wisdom, is what I wrote. They can all see now. There is a connection changing them. Their vision and perception is new, a new sense of purpose and function. Can we make it work? They were wondering. And then just an expansion of energy and awareness, increasing usable space, exploring an area, monitoring. And I had terraforming here. And what's the function or purpose of this target? To expand, to illuminate as a concept, knowledge, function, operability, foresight, and technological. And I had this drawing here. It was just an expansion of pressure, knowledge, and I had the word forgiveness. And these waves of light or energy going outwards. The waves dispersed as they expanded further out, and then they got fuzzy, as if the further they went out, the weaker they got. But the center still filled and grew, pushing that boundary further outward. So you had this energy that kept expanding, and even though it was weaker on the outside, it kept filling. So that weak point was getting further and further away from the center point. So that this space was just filling with more and more stronger energy. And there were signals. There was a pulse, a wave. It was a fast and a slow element. And it was like bubbling or expanding. There was growth, patience, and it was following the charge outward. So there was this fast, so there were steps here. I'm sorry. Step one was this fast burst or this charging element that went out, looks like left to right. And then there was this bubbling or expanding element, and the charge was leading and connected to a central source. It was mobile, it moved around. It was connected to or part of a life. It was intelligent, it was directed. But what did it do? It was expanding like an electrical burning in a charged atmosphere. I don't know what I meant by that. Maybe an electron is what I should have written. I felt like I was watching an energy grid cover an area above me. So there was this just energetic grid up above. And I was describing the what this looked like. It was bubbling, chunky, meaty, fatty, functional, purposeful, it had mass. It was wet, sticky, slimy, fuzzy. So maybe I am describing this alien environment here. There was rolling spheres. They were soft and coiled. They bubbled and then they rolled out in all directions. You had this bubbling and then they just started rolling, purposely moving in an intentional direction. They were determined. Okay, and what's most important here? Again, just this spread and expansion. Knowledge of operation, of how to do things, how to function and operate, how to program or be programmed. Rewriting the laws of physics, changing natural laws and natural orders. And I did sense a central life maybe directing some of this. They were in command here. Short little guy here, the man in charge, the overseer, the great watchman. He was male, he was stern and rigid, but he felt kind and nice, but purposeful, like a little general is how I described him. He was small in stature compared to me, meaning I think this life form was of just maybe a tinier race. I don't know. This might be a smaller life form doing something big or significant, and that made me laugh. It was, yeah, like just this tiny person scanning and watching, moving, buzzing, charged, racing, collecting. There were spheres absorbed as they rolled about, like static electricity. They were cleaners. There was a charge to them that was collecting. And then I sensed like this was weird. This tiny life inside these spheres, like a little flea. It was charged and hungry, and it was just blindly pushing and running to collect whatever they needed to collect. It was aggressive. It was really weird. Just these tiny, and they had these high-pitched kind of scavenger voices here. I had a name of like a troll or a minion, and there was this tiny army of these like little angry fleas. This is why I think maybe I'm off target. But again, it was interesting to record this. These little guys were running everywhere. They're collectors, and maybe not. Maybe this is a life form that's on this planet, just this insect life form. I call them a tiny army of fleas. Again, so I explored radon, particulate, gaseous, dusty, gritty, slippery, functional, purposeful, is a toxic chemical compound. Had evidentiary value as proof of something. What was it proof of? They were here. It was a trail, a dust trail, or evidence of a trail of tears. Something like the bubonic plague. And again, coughing, toxic dust, radiation, byproduct, waste product, feces, the waste left over from the experiment or the aftermath or the legacy. So again, maybe there's life on this planet, and that's what I was picking up, like insect life. Okay, shared. Something is owed in return, but they don't know it. They did not ask for this gift, nor did they consent or know to providing the anticipated returns. There was joy. The gift brought a benefit, but a very charged emotional feel. Was it aggression? Was it hunger? There was consumption, knowledge. They consume everything. Again, terraform, consume. It led to waste, which had a desired toxic effect on the area, maybe as part of the terraforming. It was for a purpose, a great change. And the commander watches with pride and habit. So it was like these little things were going out, they were absorbing things they were eating, and then their waste product, whatever they spit out as waste, had some kind of terraforming effect on this location here. And it felt like a job well done, an expansion, the empire, the colony or colonize, and then stop. There was some kind of repression or oppression, but not when you have ownership, meaning you can't repress or oppress what you own, was the concept I was getting here. But is it bad if the end result is good? There was a higher power behind those little devils, or the warlords, as I called them. The higher power was female, beautiful and benevolent. She had a higher purpose, a higher schematic. She saw the bigger picture. And this, to me, thinks like a terraforming type of thing. She was changing something for the bigger, greater good. Giving and beautiful, fertile. She gave life while those she employs seem to take life, but they don't realize they're just a part of a life-giving process, a necessary component of chaos and destruction, but also a part of a system of control. Much like here on planet Earth, we have decomposers, right? They eat the dead material and then create fertile soil for the plants. So seeding technology and the destroyer of worlds. She was lovely, matronly, motherly, the maiden of tarot, or the temptress with the lion, fruit bearer, wisdom giver, the knowledge keeper. I just felt I was all over the place here, and I needed to move on. I needed to stop there, looking for some direction. So I came to the my next session here. I was given some movements and I was asked to look at the effects from, I think, page 11 here. Structure, it was a life event. Looking out back to these spheres here. Again, I had an emotion, something like a rocket. It was contained or self-contained. And here we are, this little bubble here with a little guy in it. I just described it. It was bubbly, floating, reflective, had a shear on it. It was transparent, but there was clear, but there was browns, blacks, and grays, silicone and emotional. I heard chewing and crunching and thick, bubbly liquid and squishy sounds, electrical, chemical, gritty, earth and smog smells. It felt gravelly and gritty, wet, sooty, dusty, and crumbly, and the taste was dirty like rat poop and springy and pungent and gross. Looking at the life, it was spinning and spiraling, like being on a drug or a narcotic, just bumbling around, but intoxicatingly energized to move forward. The mind was fuzzy and focused on a single purpose that doesn't make sense at the moment because of this intoxication. The nausea was terrible, but into the brainstem and out to the central nervous system. So there was this input into the brainstem that then radiated out to the central nervous system, spread throughout the body. And then that's what caused this, I think, this fury of just running around like you were out of your mind on some kind of drug here. Took a break and then I moved back here. What's the reason and purpose? Giving more details here. A small life had a major impact that spreads. And so again, this flea guy here, uh, just just expanding here with a function and purpose, clearing the way for the things I must do. The path has been opened before me. It's quiet and crunchy, and here it is again. Something that just, I got this apocalyptic feeling here. Like it was quiet and crunchy, like walking on fresh snow, apocalyptic, like Chernobyl. And this life was standing before a scene of destruction. Something happened, and life is about to move through it. It was surreal and shocking. The event still was not over. As the bubble moved forward, things were sticking to it. So this bubble here was going through and it was collecting things. The sphere moved through space and things expand outwards away from it, like a polar. So this had a magnetic effect as well. And maybe it was some kind of protection that was pushing things away. I said, why and by whom? Some kind of life or event. Fibonacci sequences here, orders of events, natural. It was life altering and changing, replicating and replacing. But why? For a function and purpose. It was operational. It was to test the functionality of an idea or a concept. But what was the rationale? It was to organize, to find a purpose, and to justify one's work. And I got this concept of Sophia from the Gnostic text, which I think was what I was getting at with the woman, female life form I drew in my first session. I had this path of chaos and destruction. There's anger and passion at its core, and love. It was denied, a painful embrace. I had a woman's scream here. So again, who knows if this is relevant to the tasking or not, but it was an interesting session. Emotional rage, anger, sadness. So I'm not going to go through too much of this in this session here, but there's a lot about this female life form who was upset. However, and I did a deep dive on kind of who this person was. If we find life on that planet, I'll go back and do a more detailed review here on this. But I got to towards the end. This was really cool. This talking about destruction, and there was this warrior cult with a warrior mindset. And I started identifying like this caste system. There was a high priestess, an empress, and nobleman. And then we had the collective, which was a standing army prepared to do their bidding. They were angry and aggressive. There's a charge that comes as one prepares for battle. It's like an energetic sweep consuming an entire land. And this was really interesting. This was just energy washing over the land. It's coming, the great destroyer, destruction of all that lies in its path, leaving nothing behind. There was cracking, crumbling, and crisping sounds, like an atomic bomb or direct hit from a solar flare, radiation. It was terrifying and sad. This felt like the end of a civilization. Feels as if the standing army is reacting to this event. This is their response to destruction. They have a job to do. I wanted to describe the effects here. It was a journey. Something is lost that must be given, a reunification effort. Release of energy, sparkling, but it felt weakened, less energized. It could be the end of a cycle. This is what I really enjoyed here. The signs they have been searching for. brings hope, joy, and jubilation from waxing to waning. Okay, and there was calming effect. Self-reflections. It was a spiritual revolution, a great awakening that moves us into a primitive time of great joy and celebration. The sadness served. So after this great destruction happened, they held on to this sadness as a reminder. They had this sadness, but it was also a joy because it was over. And it brought him into a new phase or era that had begun. And then the homecoming, welcoming the champion after the war. But it felt like spiritual warfare with physical impacts, a psychic evolution or a revolution, like a conjuring opening Pandora's box. The energy was exhausted and now it's over. But never forget, over time they will, and the cycle will continue when the box is opened again. This felt relevant to life on Earth. And this was probably one of the favorite things I ever did. I need to do a different presentation on this. But here is this cycle, and the cycle continues. So right now you have the lovers, and they're in this collective in society. Everybody is in love in society. And then they begin to quarrel, and that creates confusion and disagreement, bringing imbalance. And then there was the destructive stage, the great act of balancing the system. It was actually an act of love and kindness through mercy as things were being destroyed, which then moved to rebirth, which then brought them back to the lovers stage because things started to get good again. So it was this really interesting, as if they can't control this. This is just a natural emotional cycle that this society goes through. A remembrance, awake, self-aware, that will diminish with each generation. It's the lovers who become blind because they're too focused on love, pulling the system out of balance, giving too much joy. Too much good will bring a counterbalancing energy to this equation. And it made me want to cry. So I thought, uh, I don't know how relevant my data was. There was some stuff we could say was planetary. If we one day find out that there's life there, and if we find there's intelligent life there, then I think we should definitely revisit my session. But either way, I thoroughly enjoyed working this, and I believe there's some corroborating points with the other viewers too. So I'll let all you decide what your thoughts are on it. So thanks so much.